Children, today let's start with chapter number 17, the rule of law. So in this chapter, we will study about the rule of law in independent India. So the members of the Constitution Assembly are argued that it should not arbitrarily exercise of power in independent India. Therefore, instituted several provision of Constitution that would establish rule of law. और जो सबसे important provision है वो क्या है कि all person is independent they are equal before the law. The law cannot discriminate. वो discriminate नहीं कर सकता between person on the basis of their religion, caste or gender, right? So what are the rule of law means that all laws apply equally to all citizens of the country. No one can above the law. Either a government official or the wealthy person or even the president of the country is above the law. So any crime or violation, कोई भी crime है, कोई भी violation है, through which a guilt of the person has to be established. You are familiar with some of the laws such as those who specify the age, that is 18 years at which a person can vote, and the marriage of girl is 18 and boy is 21. Now how are new laws made? So now Parliament is in charge of making laws. To think and propose a new law, it is necessary to fulfill the particular need of justice. So Parliament का क्या काम होता है? It's to be sensitive to the problem faced, violation like beating women, abusing her verbally, sexually, emotionally or economically. आप क्या कर सकते हो? By a male was brought by the attention. Often women hesitate to go to the police as they do not want to hurt or harm their husbands. So in 1999, lawyers collectively, a group of lawyers have law students and activists. After nationwide consultants, what happened? They looked at the leading in the drafting of the domestic violence. And the draft bill was widely circulated. Bill was introduced in Parliament in 2002, but it did not fulfill the needs of the several women's organizations and National Commission for Women makes submission about the amendments. So, in the Parliament, after being passed in both the House, signed by the President, Protection of Women for Domestic Violence Act came into effect in 2006. So what happened? Law recognized right to women to live in a shared household. Women can get order against any further violence. अगर कोई violence हो रहा है तो आप जाके अपने लिए लड़ सकते हैं. So from establishment, the need of new law being passed at every stage. Now parliamentary procedures for ordinary and non-money bill. Ordinary bill क्या होता है? If a non-money bill, ordinary bill originates in either house of the parliament, then the bill is passed by both the house. वो क्या बन जाता है? Act बन जाता है after being signed by the president. In the event of difference of opinion between two houses, so in regard of the ordinary bill, the final decision होता है कौन लेता है? Joint session of the two houses in the parliament. Apparently, both the houses of the parliament seem to have been placed at par as a ordinary bill in a prominent position. So next is money bill. It is concerned with either Rajya Sabha and has practically no power. It has taxation or expenditure. So the later what happens, we must return the money bill with or without the recommendation within the 14 days from the date of receipt. It does not return the bill within the period. The bill shall be deemed to have been passed by both the houses. If the Rajya Sabha returns the bill to the Lok Sabha within the 14 days in the recommendation, later आप क्या कर सकते हो? आप उसको accept भी कर सकते हो और आप उसको reject भी कर सकते हो. It's your matter. Control over the executive. So we can say Parliament exercise its control over government, and already mentioned earlier in this chapter, both the houses have right to ask questions and to introduce various kinds of motion against the government. Here begins the Lok Sabha as has upper hand, and the Union Council of Ministers is responsible to the Lok Sabha. A vote of non-confidence is passed, and the cabinet is not obliged to reside even in the majority of the Rajya Sabha. Passing of money bill. So a money bill is a proposal. ये proposal है for the taxation or expenditure for public fund. Annual budget of the country or that of state shows the estimated receipt through taxation, and the money bill is only initiated with the Lok Sabha. And the procedure of passing money bill depends upon किस पे depend करता है? Approval of the president. Now, different committees enjoy different degree of autonomy in administrating these law, and a person was punished for the crime, that is breaking a law. So what happens? Slowly began to change during the colonial period through the British colonies, introduced arbitrary rules, for example like Sedition Act of 87. Sedition का मतलब क्या होता है? Speech, writing or action that is intent to encourage people to disobey the government. और ये protest होता है ना, person protesting or criticizing the British government could be arrested without trial. आप बिना ट्रायल के आपको अरेस्ट करा जा सकता है. Unpopular and controversial laws. Sometimes law can be unconstitutionally valid and legal, but it can continue to be unpopular or unacceptable. So people might criticize this law, hold public meeting, write about its newspaper reports, TV news, and when a large number of law has been felt to oppressive, a pressure on the parliament is to be reconsidered and changed. Right? So we can say that sometimes law seems to be favoring one group and disregarding the other, and people who think that the laws is not fair can approach to the court और वो decide भी कर सकता है इसे ऊपर. The children too write letters to the newspaper officials, ministers, prime minister and president, and they cannot vote before attaining the age of 18, but can voice their views. Now political executive and permanent executive. So at different level अगर हम बात करें, government की who take day-to-day decision but exercise supreme power. So they are called executive because they are in charge of execution of the policies of the government. In a democratic country, two categories makes up executive. One that is elected by the people or specified period, and who is political executive, political leader. This is called permanent executive, right? And these officers work under political executive. और वो क्या करते हैं? Assist करते हैं them in carrying what out day-to-day administration. Political executive has more power than the permanent or non-political executive. Right? The minister is finally answerable to the people for all the consequences, and the minister is not expected to be exert in the matter of. The advisor in the defense ministry knows more about defense than a defense minister. Next is जो इंडियन प्रेसिडेंट है, ये नॉमिनल हेड होते हैं आपके स्टेट के, रूटीन फंक्शंस ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. द प्राइम मिनिस्टर एंड द काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर के पास जो होती है वो रियल पावर होती है, राइट? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल इमरजेंसी एंड द सुप्रीम कमांडर ऑफ डिफेंस फोर्स. And an ordinance is an order to execute which has the same effect of the act of parliament. President exercises his or her power usually किस पे exercise करता है? On the seats to support the majority of MP. जो डॉक्टर राजेंद्र प्रसाद जो प्रेसिडेंट थे हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन assemblies के, what he declared that the president of the republic was to occupying the same position in the British monarch. So 1951 में उन्होंने एक नोट सेंड करा to the Prime Minister of India जवाहरलाल नेहरू in which he expressed a desire to act solely on his judgment, independent of the Council of Ministers, while giving assent to the bill and sending message to the Parliament and returning bill to the Parliament for reconsideration. Although there is no specific provision of the Constitution itself making a binding on it, so Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the President, is the head of the nation, but not rule the nation. ठीक है, कौन करता है? वो आपके प्राइम मिनिस्टर, राइट? दिस इज ऑल इन दिस चैप्टर. नाउ चैप्टर हैज बीन कंप्लीटेड. लेट्स मूव टू द एक्सरसाइज. इंडिया डैश इज द रियल एग्जीक्यूटिव. कौन होता है रियल एग्जीक्यूटिव? दैट इज प्रेसिडेंट. द मिनिमम एज ऑफ बॉयज मैरिज इज 21 years. डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट इज अ डैश एग्जीक्यूटिव, वो परमानेंट होते हैं. मनी बिल कैन बी इंट्रोड्यूस ओनली. मनी बिल आप कहाँ कर सकते हो? खाली लोकसभा में. नाउ fill in the blanks. The dash has more power than the permanent executive. That is your political executive. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the president. Dash is the nominal executive. Dash and dash laws are criticized by the people through media, political or जितने भी controversial and political. The dash executive has power than dash executive. जो real executive होता है, या फिर आप कह सकते हैं पॉलिटिकल एग्जीक्यूटिव की ज्यादा पावर होती है एज कंपेयर टू परमानेंट एग्जीक्यूटिव. First is the Prime Minister has to resign if he or she loses the majority in Lok Sabha, it's true. Political executive is answerable to the people, it's true. People cannot pressurize the parliament to make a particular law, false. वो कर सकती है pressurize. Money bill can be introduced only in the consent of president, it's true. President of India is above law, false. He is not above. Now answer the following question. When do law become? Now describe the parliamentary procedure of money bill. What is parliamentary procedure of ordinary or non-money bill? How did new law domesticate violence? What are money bill? You have to discuss two types of bill here. And did the British introduce rule of law? Who introduced rule of law and what is rule of law? You have to give the example of violation of the rule of law. Right? This is all in this chapter. Hope you understood. Now we will meet in the next class. That's all for today. Thank you.